Many people talk about burnout, but not everybody knows what it actually is. What's worse is that a lot of workplaces treat burnout reactively, providing resiliency training and mandatory wellness seminars to the staff, which actually, honestly, often builds up a lot of resentment in staff because you can't meditate out of a burnout, and by pushing or putting more tasks on people and the responsibility on workers to self-cure the burnout, systems only add on the pressure to the pot and sort of add on to that burning the candle at both ends. Hi, I'm Yulia Pavirina. I'm a busy doctor in Greater Toronto area who hustled for the most of my life, beginning with being an immigrant and then becoming a physician, and finally the breadwinner. During medical school, residency, and first years of practice, I worked insane amount of hours, constantly sleep deprived and somehow surviving on snacks and takeouts and some sort of non-nourishing meal choices, often snapping at my husband, frequently feeling drowning in never-ending work, submitting to hidden toxic culture of medicine, not realizing that I was burnt out. My marriage was cracking, I lost the sense of vitality in my life, and I started seriously questioning my career choices, thinking that maybe I'm not good enough for the job. I was still working full-time, and my life looked reasonably successful on the outside, but I had no idea I was burnt out. The real problem is that many people are burnt out, not just the healthcare workers. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what burnout really is, what types of burnout exist, and what are some actionable strategies you can take to get out of it. Let's go. Burnout is included in the World Health Organization's 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, or ICD-11, as an occupational phenomenon. It is not classified as a medical condition, and that's important to outline. It is described in the chapter Factors Influencing Health Status or Contact with Health Services, which includes reasons for which people contact health services, but that are not classified as illnesses or health conditions. Burnout is defined in ICD-11 as follows. Burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized by three dimensions: feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feeling of negativism or cynicism related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. Burnout refers specifically to phenomenon in the occupational context and should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. So that's an important distinction, because I think in current media environment, a lot of people can apply this term to many other aspects of life. The World Health Organization is actually about to embark on the development of evidence-based guidelines on mental well-being in the workplace, but they're not published yet. So we have to go with everything that's out there and sort through for ourselves what would serve us best. I have been researching this topic for a few years now, and I wanted to share with you really helpful classification I came across, as well as some of the tips how to get out of it. In Ali Abdaal's Feel Good Productivity book, he talks about the concept of sustainable productivity, highlighting the three distinct types of burnout that can lead you to feeling depleted. First is overextension burnout, from taking on too much work for an extended period of time. This was me in 2020, picking up all the work because we were chronically short-staffed in the hospital and not allowing myself enough time to recover. At the same time, I was still volunteering at some committees instead of resting and spending time with my loved ones, or honestly just on my own. Next is depletion burnouts. It's a kind of similar concept, but this one is from not recharging and not resting properly. Think of many new moms, especially if they have multiple children to look after and no help at home and no supports. This was also me in medical school and residency when I was coming home late from the hospital only to study till late at night, to get up early in the morning and then begin the cycle on repeat for many weeks. And finally, misalignment burnout. This one comes from doing the things that don't align with your values and aspirations. And many of us actually live without fully realizing what are the things that are most important to us, and we could actually engage in activities that take up a lot of our time that actually have nothing to do with what's important, and that's why they're kind of so draining. Think of the times when you said yes to commitments you didn't really feel very passionate about, or they took on a lot of your time and energy, but you just couldn't say no, or you didn't give it enough thought before agreeing or signing up for them. I think a person could have one, two, or all of the types of the burnout mixed to various degree at the same time. There's not a clear cut between them, but I think it just helps us conceptualize and differentiate a little bit and apply certain strategies depending on what you feel is more applicable to you in the moment. So what are some of the ways to manage these types of burnout? Let's look at overextension burnout. The simplest and most effective solution is do less, but how? I would say there's three techniques that you can find in that book, which I highly recommend. It's very helpful. The first one, and probably the simplest one, is just prioritizing scheduling breaks. For example, looking at your next 3 to 6 months work schedule or life schedule or your calendar, whatever you have, and build in intentionally some breaks in your work and your home projects or life projects, and making sure you have some downtime, not just overextending and overscheduling yourself and spending yourself just to the thinnest you can. Another technique is hell yes or no. So if it's not a hell yes when you're being approached to engage in a new project, another job, if it doesn't resonate with you and it doesn't feel like a hell yes, then it's a no. If you have to talk yourself into doing something, get an advice from 10 people or friends or family and convince yourself to agree to do something, it's probably not something you really should be doing. But maybe sometimes it's just hard for us to clearly see it or admit it, or just kind of tell ourselves the truth. So for example, you might be invited for a dinner with a company that you maybe don't really enjoy, but your house is a mess and your fridge is empty and you have been, feeding your family off takeouts for the last 2 weeks. So at this time, maybe you can say no to them and instead go spend some time organizing your space so it is pleasant and relaxing for you and recharging for you, and maybe cook some nourishing meal instead of ordering all the time, and that will be your replenishing project for the night instead of going for that maybe less recharging and less nourishing dinner, so to say. And finally, a very interesting concept of energy investment portfolio. So treating your energy and time as your most valuable non-renewable assets, and being greedy about spending it on things that don't really add value and don't have much return on investment in the form of joy, personal growth, health, and relationships. Remember, jobs will always be there, but your friends and family will not. Now, depletion burnout happens when we rest in sort of a not a very proper way. This is a very important difference to understand, because sometimes we come from work and maybe we had a really stressful day, we worked extra hours, we had a very, tolling drive or commute home in traffic. We come home and we just don't feel like doing anything. We feel completely spent and we opt in to just sit and scroll on the phone, and we think this is the most relaxing thing to do, while actually what could be recharging for us is maybe going for a yoga class or going to gym or phoning a friend, or you name it. It's really very individual to determine what are the things that fill your pot, so to say, that recharge you, and mindfully and intentionally picking those activities over the path of least resistance and over, some of those numbing activities, because scrolling through social media is one of the forms in which we numb ourselves. So sometimes it's helpful to determine what activities are re-energizing and recharging for you by categorizing them through the CALM abbreviation activities. So CALM, and let's just take a closer look at what this abbreviation means. C for competence, activities that foster learning and personal growth. So something like, a language class or learning how to dance, picking up a new hobby, something along those lines. A for autonomy. So task where you feel a sense of ownership and control. A lot of the times in our jobs, we don't really have that control, and that could be very morally injuring to not have that sense of autonomy in your duties, especially if you work a lot of hours. So what are some of the things in your life where you could gain absolute control? This also could be a hobby, this also could be a committee, a book club. Maybe you start your own YouTube channel, and that's your activity where you have the autonomy to decide how much you're putting in, how often you contribute to the content, and so on. Next is L for liberty. So opportunity to disengage from routine work obligations. I see it as, intentionally looking for opportunities in your day to have some breaks where even for a moment you can have a moment sort of to recoup and just become a bit more present. So this could be even building in a 2-minute break to go to the bathroom. And on your way to bathroom, you can listen to a nice song on your phone, or you go to the bathroom to just wash your hands. But this just helps you to reset and kind of step out of maybe some stressful environment. There are multiple ways in which you can do it, but just leaning into those opportunities and looking for them can actually bring a lot of positive results. Give it a try. And finally, M for mellow, relaxing activities with low stakes and minimal pressure. And honestly, this is my absolutely favorite category, because if you work in a high stakes, high liability environment, like very, very stressful job, where all eyes are on you and there's a lot of pressure for you to perform, or there is a culture of being a superhuman like in healthcare, our nervous system kind of gets wired to be always in the on mode and being sort of frequently in fight or flight, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for you to wind down, to relax when you are even outside of that environment. So on this channel, I put a lot of voiceovers with relaxation videos, different relaxing meditations, and some other techniques for relaxation, because I do think that this gives you kind of the big bang for your buck. And there will be way more content on learning how to regulate your nervous system into a state of relaxation, sort of empowering you into developing that ventral vagal state, or activating your parasympathetic or rest and digest nervous system to allow you to recharge and recover and break that cycle of constant kind of state of hamster wheel and being stuck in it, right? Finally, misalignment burnout. That's an interesting category as well. And this one is a little bit more about your own philosophy, your core beliefs, your own personal values. And this is a really important activity to do if you haven't done any personal value activities before. Highly encourage you to attend, a seminar on that, or look up online how to do that. Maybe I'll put a video about that here as well. But basically, misalignment burnouts come from doing things that don't align with our true selves. To address this, you can use a couple of methods. One is called a eulogy method. So think about, what do you want to be known for or remembered for? If you were to die tonight or tomorrow, what do you want to be written in your eulogy? Do you want to be remembered as somebody who never missed a day of job, always pleased everybody, was always nice and pleasant, never had any flaws in the personality, but really didn't have anything specific about you? Or do you want to be known for some sort of a legacy that you will leave after yourself, certain things that you will contribute to the world, as all of us can do something to make the world better. So what is it that you want to be known for and remembered for? So that's one way of looking at, okay, how much what am I living right now is actually aligning with my values, with what is truly core, my purpose in life and my desires. The other interesting approach is the Odyssey plan by the Stanford Life Design Lab. So this was initially developed for people in their 20s and 30s, but I think it can actually be used by people of all ages and could be done, every couple of years or maybe even a couple times a year. You decide. There's really little harm in doing this exercise as far as I'm aware of. So to create your Odyssey plan involves brainstorming ideas in 3 imaginary scenarios for the future. Sort of you imagine 3 different paths you could take. And here are the 3 prompts for you to reflect on. So, pick a piece of paper and a pen and maybe pause this video to, allocate maybe 10 minutes for it, or come back to this piece of the video later and just reflect on the following 3 stems. What would happen to you, your life, both personally and professionally, in any of the below scenarios? 1, what would your life look like if you continued to do the thing you're doing already? Or you continued down the path you are already on right now? Number 2, what if plan 1 disappeared? What would your life look like if you couldn't do the thing you're doing right now? And finally, number 3, what would your life look like if you didn't care about money or what other people thought about you? The idea isn't necessary to pick one plan over the other. The idea is just to get you thinking and to realize what are things that are important for you in your life. This could be actually quite eye-opening experience. So let me know in the comments below, how did that go for you? And please don't limit yourself by only writing things that you think are realistic for you, because honestly, sometimes we are our own worst enemies and we cut our own wings. So remove all the limitations when you are just doing those imaginary exercises. Okay guys, burnout can sneak up on anyone. It doesn't always look like a full-on breakdown, and I hope that's obvious from what I've already covered. Sometimes it's just these subtle things like constant tiredness, feeling disengaged at your job, or being even less productive at work. If you recognize these signs in yourself, don't ignore them. There are so many ways to fight burnout. Your life can be brighter and more exciting if you pay attention to these symptoms and take action now. There are a lot of strategies and there's no one size fits all. Burnout can come and go, and depending on where you are in your life and what are the circumstances, it can, be provoked by various other things depending on the stages of your life and the environment, right? Life is constantly changing, so we always have to readjust. But it is important to sort of learn to calibrate yourself and to spot it as early as possible and have a toolbox in mind to be able to address it in a timely manner, and hopefully don't let it get too deep or too bad. So, ready to beat burnout? I will be creating a course on burnout and all things self-care, and if you would like to be notified and be put on the wait list for when it comes out, please sign up using the link down below in the description. And also, there will be a lot of content on this topic on this channel, so please don't forget to subscribe. Check out my next videos on tips for recharging your energy and loving your work and life again. And if you have any questions or personal stories, drop a comment below. You are not alone in this. Remember, your lifestyle behaviors will compound over days, weeks, months, and years, and will determine the quality of your life down the road. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of this content. May you be well, and thank you for watching.